We can go right to questions.
Okay, all right. We will start with Cassidy, followed by Mike.
Hey Dave, how's it going?
Cassidy, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Around this time last year when the schedule came out, you mentioned that you have to earn those primetime games because there wasn't any on the schedule last year. You look at the schedule for this coming year and you do have a primetime game in Monday Night Football. What do you think that says about this team where you are now, maybe where you were a year ago?
Well, I just love the opportunities to be able to play those types of games. There's a couple of extra cameras, and you get to play under the lights, playing against a great opponent, and those are the types of games that we need, to become who we are. And the challenge is to go on the road, go across the country, and really feel the high stakes games. As we build this and we compete to win the division, the hope is that we are working ourselves into the mentality of like, this is another game. We go about our preparation and our work the same way, so that we can go out there and just play our best.
And then a couple of the guys have joked the past few weeks that, they really just wanted to see where that Green Bay game landed to make sure it wasn't in December. What is your initial takeaways when you look at a schedule in May? Like, what are you looking for?
For me, honestly, I don't look really far out. I want to know when the bye week is so we can kind of, plan out and just kind of think about when it hits, this year and this season, coming with having the bye week and then 4 games left, I think is a really cool opportunity for us to kind of see where we're at, regroup and finish. If you can kind of break up the season when it was 16 games, you could just talk about it in terms of quarters. You have your first quarter, second quarter, you got the halfway point, your third quarter, your fourth quarter finish, so I love that the bye comes and then you got those 4 games to finish, and we always talk about that with our mentality. So just looking at that, trying to figure out, where the divisional games fall in, right in the middle of there. We have about a stretch of 6 non-division games in a row, and that just allows us to kind of see some different teams, work on our craft, see different play styles defensively and offensively, that'll all be good learning lessons as we go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey Dave, good afternoon.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, you guys start off on the road 3 of your first 4 games, and then as you mentioned, have the late bye. I think onlookers would naturally have like a negative inclination to all of that. What was your takeaway when you saw, how the season started, but also the way your season ended?
I mean, I just always look at road games as an opportunity for us to grow. I think the thing that people miss that happens when you do travel is you become closer as a team. You're all in the hotel. We're not going to our own beds, at night, kind of leading into the game. And so you travel together, you're in the hotel together, the meetings, the in-betweens, guys will go find dinner, right before our night meetings. And so, I've always seen those opportunities as a chance for us to bond and kind of grow closer. The fact that it happens early in the season is a good thing. As we figure out who we are, we're going to have the core of what we're doing from an X's and O's standpoint, but we're going to see our team emerge, and to go and play in somebody else's stadium, we talk to the guys like, hey, we're all we got, we're all we need. This is our group right here, and you got to stay together. The energy has to come from our bench for the guys playing and to support each other that way, And then, of course, on the flip side of it is you got a lot of road games early on. That means that we're going to have more home games as the season goes on, and that's where we can, bring our show home and really show who we are to our fan base and get them excited about what we're doing.
You brought up the last 4 games. Obviously, you've got a lot of connections to your last 3 games, and you had kind of the highs and lows with the Falcons and the Buccaneers throughout with the NFC battles. Are there specific matchups that you kind of say, wow, that's kind of cool, this is going to be a moment I'm going to remember?
Honestly, I love every game, and so I just think there's such great, teachable moments from each game. So and my message to the team, which is going to be consistent, is like, no game is bigger than the other one. And if we can make them all big games, they all matter. This is all going to create our team. These are all the best opportunities that we have, as a team and then individually as players. Like, this is the best game you have. This is the greatest practice that you have. So, I'm talking about the preseason games that way, and the opportunity to figure out who's going to make our team, who are the guys that are going to emerge and make plays for us that we can count on. So hopefully I can create high stakes for all the games. But again, I love seeing the teams. I love seeing Buffalo, coming in here, and I love seeing the teams that have played really well so that we can see who we are against the best, and certainly end of the season, when it comes down to crunch time, playing the Bucks a couple times right there, the quality control in me kind of sees that and goes, okay, well, I won't have a lot to break down when we play them the next time, and as a play caller, it's like, shoot, what plays didn't we call in the first one? Start with those, and then we'll add a couple more. So it does help the preparation in that regard, but it does make it challenging because you know that they have the same advantage on the other side when you play each other that closely together.
Thanks.
Yeah, Mike.
All right, we will go to David, followed by Joe.
Hey, Coach. One of the struggles of this organization the last 6 or so years has been struggling coming out of the gate. I think only 1 year you guys have had a winning record, after 6 or 7 games. How important, just looking at the schedule, the way it's set up, especially with the road games that Mike was talking about, how important is it for you guys to get out of the gate fast this year versus what's happened in the past?
You're going to hate this answer. Every game is important. We're going to approach that first one just like we will the rest of them, and I wasn't here for the history of it. This is a new team. Every year is a different team. Guys are different. The guys that were rookies last year, they come in with a different mindset into this offseason, so I really don't know what our team is, who our team is, but we have an opportunity, especially early on to kind of figure that out, some on the road. And so for me, it's I don't try to make any assumptions. I am open to, as far as we want to take this thing, it's going to take everybody. It's going to take all the players, the belief in our style, the belief in our systems, and just to kind of build off of the foundation that's been set about how we play football and the selection of plays, which we call our core. So we're going to lean on that. We're going to take every game one at a time, and we certainly are going to be excited to go down to Jacksonville and to see what we have then. But it's a long way from now, and of course our focus right now is to just like stack great practices, knowing. But I will say this though, David, it does, when the schedule does come out, there is an excitement. There is an anticipation that makes it more real, and you start to kind of, set your sights on like how the season builds and all that. So I'll definitely admit that part of it, but it's my job, to make every day important, and we'll certainly approach that early on.
Right, I kind of expected that answer, but when we look at the schedule, we'll see a stretch of games that are like, wow, that's a real tough stretch of games. What jumped out at you is, hey, this is a real tough stretch of games? I look at things as opportunity, and so I thought, to me, what stood out was 6 non-division games in a row. And to be able to see some different opponents, to see, there's new coordinators around the league, to get familiar with different styles of defense and the things that'll be thrown at us from divisions that we're not really familiar with, So I look at those things as those are kind of like the teaching points of like, while they try to attack us with this a different way, or to kind of take those learning lessons and stack those things as we kind of settle into seeing a lot of divisional opponents, after that 6-game stretch, to finish. So I just kind of look at what are the opportunities that I have as the head coach to be able to present to the guys as challenges and opportunities for growth. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you. Charlotte has a bowl game, obviously, every year. Have you had any conversations, like, is it your understanding you guys might have to go on the road every year in week 18, or where does that stand?
Hey, to me, I know just kind of historically, like if you want to be a great team, you got to be able to win on the road. That's certainly in the regular season, setting yourself up, but then also in the postseason, you're going to have to travel, So, we ended up with Green Bay early in November. The weather can go either way, right? But if it was December and you're having to deal with the weather and elements, like you're faced with those challenges at times, and you may have to go somewhere in whatever round. You may have to go play in the cold, and so I just kind of look at all of these things as championship opportunities that prepare us for the challenges that may come up, So, that was kind of just one of the games that I was looking at is like, not necessarily like worrying about where that is, but seeing what challenge it might present that'll teach us something about how to play, how to handle weather, how to do these different things, and for the whole organization, of course, Don Toner, and getting all the equipment ready for a cold game and all that stuff. So all those things are exciting to me. It's all part of the league and part of building a team.
And then two more quick things.
Yeah.
Are the Browns going to be your only joint practice? And then what's Derek Brown's timeline?
Yeah, Derek, we're just kind of week to week, just seeing where he's at with his, confidence level, conditioning level, and all that. And so we'll kind of just play that by ear. We have on the books right now, we do plan on practicing with the Browns before that first game. And, we've Kevin Stefanski and I have, worked back and forth, kind of sending each other practice plans to make sure that it's an appropriate practice for where we're at in training camp in terms of what we can manage and the load that we can handle, and then, we're reaching out to Houston and Pittsburgh as well to kind of see, what the level of interest for those guys are. Think about, having a joint practice with Houston in that heat, and getting the acclimation. It'll be hot here, but I know I was in Tampa for a year. I've heard Houston is very similar. So just being able to get some acclimation, again, just another great way to just challenge the guys to maintain focus in a different type of environment. So we're open to, those things with the Texans and the Steelers.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Coach, appreciate